Hello, I'm Infamous Fear. What's that? It's time for Infamous Queer!
Pride, 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 darling, darling, pride, pride, 95!
What? I broke my watch in an opera scrum while trying to tear off man's clothing. I'm probably not the best person to talk about today's film because it's directed by David Cronenberg, the man who directed this and this. Yes, there's probably somebody else who's better suited to reviewing this kind of thing. However, it's actually fairly mainstream and not at all crazy. And for a half-assed David Cronenberg film, I can't exactly afford to get Oancitizen. So instead I've got the next best thing. Oancitizen. Laughingstock. A butt for laughter. An object of ridicule. Wait a second. Why am I reading this? Welcome to Infamous Queer. The seeds of today's movie were sown by a true story. The sad and woeful tale of Bernard Bouzicault, who went to China to become a diplomat and instead got caught in a bizarre conga line of humiliation. In other words, his story was full of ridiculous misunderstandings and ruined lives, meaning it was perfect for one art form in particular. Opera! David Henry Huang heard about the story and drew parallels between Bouzicault's tale and that of a famed Puccini opera, Madame Butterfly. And so followed his play, M. Butterfly, the film adaptation of which we'll be looking at today. Plays adapted to films generally don't go fairly well, unless of course it's Shakespeare, so I wait with bated breath to see how well Cronenberg will do.
Hold it right there! I should be doing this review instead of you!
My god! What the hell is that? Infamous Fear, you didn't warn me about this. I'm off! Now look what you've done.
He wasn't a very good Oancitizen anyway. The accent was all wrong.
The version with the proper accent cost more and I couldn't afford it. Gender hipster, what the hell are you doing here anyway?
But I'm not the gender hipster at all. I'm the famous opera singer.
You're not fooling anyone. You can't even sing opera. Well, that's not even the right opera. M. Butterfly begins in 1964. Our main character is the French diplomat René Gallimard, played by the glorious Jeremy Irons, who isn't even bothering to do a French accent here.
I expect it's all the locals spitting on the windscreens.
He and his wife moved to China in order for René to do some mysterious diplomatic stuff.
There's a limit to the number of times I can watch a man trying to get his leg around the back of his neck.
René Gallimard has to go to a diplomatic event at the Swedish embassy. There he witnesses a performance where a beautiful Chinese opera singer sings an aria from Madame Butterfly. René is very taken by this and he goes to give his compliments afterwards, if you can call what he said compliments.
I've never seen a performance as convincing as yours.
Convincing? Me as a Japanese woman? Did you know the Japanese used thousands of our people for medical experiments during the war?
You made me see the beauty of the story. Of her death. It's pure sacrifice. I mean, he's not worthy of it, but what can she do? She loves him so much.
You might want to stop now, René. You're just digging yourself deeper into a hole.
It's one of your favorite fantasies, isn't it? The submissive Oriental woman and the cruel white man.
He then goes home and tells his wife about the opera performance, and I can't help but notice that his wife has a French accent and he doesn't.
Chinese are an incredibly arrogant people. They warned us in Paris about it, remember?
Well, when I said French, maybe I actually meant incomprehensible. Rene is so compelled by the mysterious opera singer that he goes to see another performance, this time at a Chinese theatre. Rene watches the opera singer, Song Lilin, perform, while two people wave large slices of decorated toast in the background. And did I mention it sounds like this? Rene is still creepily compelled by this, and he decides to track down Song in the dressing room afterwards.
Monsieur Gallimard, come in.
I have no idea why they let him in.
Be a gentleman, will you, and light my cigarette?
You smoke? You're an opera singer! Rene leaves, pausing only to speak to some Chinese guy, even though he doesn't speak any Chinese, so I don't know why he bothered.
What are you doing?
哦，你是问我它做什么用吗？
I hope you like blue-tinted scenes of Jeremy Irons wandering around China at night time looking lost, because otherwise you'd probably better go and watch something else. It isn't long before he's wandering the streets again to go and see Song, who tells them that they're going to have trouble continuing their acquaintance because of this cultural revolution and Rene's position at the embassy.
I'm slightly afraid of scandal.
What are we doing that's scandalous?
This does not deter Rene, who starts hitting on Song in the most weird and awkward way possible. Later, we resume Rene's normal life. He goes to an awkward diplomatic do where it turns out that none of his co-workers like him because he's not as corrupt as they are. They demonstrate their disapproval through mustard theft of contempt.
If you're not careful, we'll break all your pencils in half.
I'm absolutely quaking in my boots! Meanwhile, Song is sending a lot of imploring letters to Rene.
Please come back. My audience is Mr. White Devil in their midst. Sometimes I hate you. Sometimes I hate myself. But always, I seem to miss you. Your rudeness is beyond belief. Don't bother to call. I'll have you turn away at the door. What more do you want? I have already given you my shame.
I don't get it. Do you want him to come back or not? Make up your mind! Stop being so fickle! Rene's then promoted to vice consul by the ambassador, and he goes to see Song to share the news.
I came tonight for an answer. Are you my butterfly?
What are you saying?
Are you my butterfly?
Rene, stop being weird! Do you seriously think this is the way to hit on someone?
Are you my butterfly?
For some reason, Song is receptive to this, and awkward sexual acts ensue.
Please let me keep my clothes on. Modesty is so important to the Chinese.
Well, thank you for that. Now I don't have to censor anything. Rene then resumes his day job of presumably doing nothing, and then we hear that he now knows so much about Chinese people because he slept with one.
We French lost our war in Indochina because we failed to learn about the people we sought to lead. It's natural, therefore, correct even, that they should resent us. How could they do otherwise when we refuse to treat them like fellow human beings?
The two then take some time off their busy schedules to take part in a Cultural Revolution propaganda poster, and Song asks Rene a question.
With your pick of Western women, why did you choose a poor Chinese with a chest like a boy?
Not like a boy, like a girl, like a young, innocent schoolgirl, waiting for her lessons.
Well, I guess I should have expected no less, coming from the man who played Humbert Humbert in Lolita. Song's fellow party members hate what the singer is doing, and decide to say so.
Forgive me, I didn't expect you. Trash. Decadent trash.
Don't you understand how degrading those images are to women? And why do you have to behave this way when he's not even here?
In order to better serve the great proletarian state, I practice my deception as often as possible. I despise this costume. Yet for the sake of our great helmsman, I will endure it, along with all the other bourgeois Western perversions.
I'm not convinced that this will be enough to redeem you in the eyes of the party.
I'm trying my best to become somebody else.
Ah, so Song is a spy who's only gotten close to Renee to get information from him. Renee, however, is too thick to realise this and demonstrates once again that he is the authority on Chinese people in a really imperialist way.
The Oriental woman, when she's good, she's very, very, very good. But when she's bad, she's Christian.
I wish he'd shut up. And then, more awkward sex. God, I really wish everybody was bound by ancient Chinese modesty sometimes.
Come and get it.
After this, Renee has to demonstrate his cultural imperialist penis powers, so turns up at Song's place once more, this time extremely wasted. Of course, the first thing he says is this.
You've been drinking?
Wait. Renee can no longer stand the awkward sex against walls and demands to see Song naked.
Take your clothes off. Come on. I'm a man. I want to see you naked. I'm no longer your lord and master. So your obedience has limits, I see.
Why are you treating me like this?
Because I'm a prick, that's why. But oh no, the ancient Chinese modesty. How is Song going to get out of this one? Will Song A. accuse Renee of assault, B. set Renee's head on fire, C. run away, or D. fake a pregnancy?
Renee, I'm pregnant.
If you said D, fake a pregnancy, then congratulations, you're right. Wait, what?
Oh, butterfly. I've betrayed you in so many ways.
Oh, Renee, stop it. Nobody wants to see that shit.
I do not know how to change my body into the body of another.
Hold that thought. Renee, for some reason, after having an affair with a Chinese opera singer to whom he only spoke in French, English, can now speak Chinese. Song, meanwhile, has gone back to propaganda land in order to ask where to procure a baby.
Why in Beijing opera are women's roles traditionally played by men?
I don't know. Most probably a remnant of the reactionary and patriarchal social structure.
It's because only a man knows how a woman is supposed to act.
Aha! I told you I should have been reviewing this movie. So, Song is a man. Who knew? Well, probably everyone except Renee, even though he was given the opportunity to feel Song up and presumably came close to finding a penis. And wait a minute, what happened to Renee's wife? She just disappeared. We never see her again. The political climate has changed, and Renee finds himself in the midst of a cultural revolution parade which burns down all that bourgeois decadence associated with the opera. Meanwhile, everybody at the embassy seems to know that Renee is having an affair. Song meets Renee for the last time, to show him their son. Well, it looks like he takes after his father then. Renee gets sent home for repeating Song's bullshit information, which was wrong, strangely, and Song gets sent to Cultural Revolution 101. Ah, yes, the dirt mines of China. Mining dirt for glorious nation of China. I don't know what they're going to do with the dirt, but they'll sure have it. 1968, and Renee is now back in Paris, free to get mopey at the opera. Oh, come on, don't cry. The singer isn't that bad. It's not as if you're witnessing a performance by Florence Foster Jenkins. The political climate is heating up because the Cultural Revolution has somehow made its way to France. Wait, how is it that the police and the students in France speak French, but not Renee? Either have everyone speak French, or apply the translation convention and have everyone speak English. You can't half do it. Then suddenly Song shows up, and Renee provides his best greeting.
Butterfly.
Can't you use my real fucking name for once? But it's so hard to pronounce. It's one syllable!
But where's your wife?
Actually I don't know. She vanished halfway through my time in China. Unfortunately, their glorious happiness doesn't last long, because Renee is arrested. Now they're in court, and just in case you were the only person in the audience who didn't know, Song is a man.
And the spying?
Not much at first. Rene had lost all his high-level contacts. The Chinese intelligence wasn't too happy with parking ticket statistics. Finally, at my urging, Rene got a job as a courier, carrying sensitive government documents.
Did he understand what you planned to do with the documents?
I told him the Chinese were holding our son and expected a few favors before we would be allowed to see him.
Was Monsieur Gallimard aware of other aspects of your relationship? Say the fact that you are a man.
In all our years together, Rene never explored my body.
Monsieur Sun, please. In all your years together, he never, even once.
He was very responsive to my ancient Oriental ways of love, all of which I invented myself, just for him.
Haven't really answered the question. Did he know you were a man?
You know, Your Honor, I never asked.
Rene and Song are then put in the same prison van because the French prison system is terrible. Then Song decides to strip off so that Rene can finally see him naked. This does not go well.
Look at me.
You can't run away from my nudity!
I am your butterfly.
You show me your true self. What I love was the lie.
For some reason, Song seems to have actually fallen in love with Rene, and is pretty unhappy when Rene can't accept anything beyond the fantasy of this perfect submissive Asian woman. I can understand that this might be a bit of a bombshell, but you could be a little nicer about it. Are you happy, Rene? You made a grown man cry! Cut to prison, where Rene is now sporting a rather nice manicure. The shame of the whole affair was too much for him, and now the poor man seems to have turned to performance art.
I, René Gallimard, have known and been loved by the perfect woman. There is a vision of the Orient that I have. Of slender women in cheongsams and kimonos who die for the love of unworthy foreign devils, who are born and raised to be perfect women, who take whatever punishment we give them and spring back, strengthened by love, unconditional. is a vision that has become my life. So that now, when I look into the mirror, I see nothing but...
The worst cross-dresser of all time!
I have a vision of the Orient. That deep within her almond eyes, there are still women. Women willing to sacrifice themselves for the love of a man.
Jesus, Renee, let it go!
My name is René Gallimard, also known as Madame Butterfly.
Damn, I chose a humiliating way to kill myself. The fantasy of Madame Butterfly, where a beautiful submissive Asian woman falls for a Western man, who breaks her heart, so the Asian woman kills herself, has been reversed. Renee realises that he is Madame Butterfly, and naturally a realisation like that calls for performance art suicide. And that was M. Butterfly. Personally, What? Remember at the beginning of this review how I mentioned a name? Bernard Bouzicault. Let's delve back to the reality of this story. Yes, I know the story seems ridiculous, but the fact is, M. Butterfly actually did happen, to a fashion. But not the way this movie portrays it. This doesn't work! Bernard Bouzicault went to China wanting to have a relationship with a woman because previously he'd only had relationships with men. Therefore, he'd only had homosexual sex and probably didn't have any heterosexual sex. So he might be reasonably expected to not know what heterosexual sex would feel like. René Gallimard, on the other hand, has had sex with a woman. He has a wife. So therefore, how come he didn't know that Song was a man? A vagina feels different to an anus, and unless Song was wearing some kind of special compression underwear with a convenient hole in the back, one would think that René would feel the presence of a penis. René Gallimard is the biggest idiot of all time! Oancitizen, what are you doing here? Get away, I'm trying to finish this review. In reality, Bouzicault did try and kill himself by slashing his throat, although I highly doubt that he did it by way of performance art. He didn't succeed, by the way, and is still alive today and in a long-term relationship with a man. And he forgave Shi Pei Pu for what happened. If I may intervene? Fine, go ahead. Shi Pei Pu, the real-life version of Song Lilin, was even more impressive. He met Bouzicault while dressed as a man, told Bouzicault that he was a woman dressed as a man, then they had some awkward sex. Then he alternated between dressing as a man and dressing as a woman, so that Bouzicault thought that he was a woman in disguise, when in fact he was a man in not disguise. Gender hipster! I don't recommend that you watch this movie. The last 20 minutes of it are amusing, although I still don't know why anyone would want to commit suicide by performance art, but apart from that, it's just boring. Both Song and René come across as incredibly annoying, arrogant stereotypes, and it just plays out like an incredibly wanky, monotonous, boring, heterosexual love story. It simply does not pass muster as a queer film, and I don't know why you wasted my time with this. I wasted your time with this? Admittedly, there is a point to that. There's only so many times you can hear Jeremy Irons moan, butterfly, like he just ejaculated down the left leg of his trousers without wanting to break someone's face. David Cronenberg, you betrayed me. Well, that was M. Butterfly, and if you'll excuse me, I've got to make a call to the company who procured me this and ask about a refund.